Ohio. We're high on Ohio. These stories inform and inspire through the words of people who make Ohio home. Good news and good ideas, identifying and acknowledging the excellence that is all around us. I'm joined today by Matt Mayer, who is the president of the Opportunity Ohio organization here in Ohio, and also the Liberty Foundation of America, which is something brand new that you've just recently come up
just this year.
Just this year. And Matt and I go back now several years, and we've always enjoyed talking to and working with Matt on a whole variety of things, going back to tax reform and everything like that, and which was a true example of a variety of thoughts and political philosophy coming together and saying, wow, we need to take a look at our whole tax structure. We can then fight.
Let's get something done.
We can fight later about what it all means, but let's at least ask the question.
Yeah.
But talking a little bit about, because when we started talking about the whole tax problem in Ohio and all the tax, we call it corporate welfare, tax giveaways, economic development incentives, that's $7.7 billion, which almost exactly equals our entire income tax take in the state, which is an interesting number in itself too, both of them combined. The question for you though is, along all this data and everything, are there other things out there that people are completely unaware of? We have a segment here we call Mythbusting. Can you tell us something that everybody out there thinks is true but really isn't true?
I'm not sure if this fits, but I think one of the myths out there is that in the 2004 election, when Karl Rove, they put the gay marriage ballot on the initiative, that was this great thing that essentially caused Ohio to go for Bush. If you actually look at the data, the voter data, what you see is it was actually a worse turnout for Bush than it was in 2000. That he actually lost significant ground to the Democrat. In that case, it was Kerry, but when you look at the turnout for Kerry actually increased at a greater rate than it did for Bush. So the idea that somehow putting that gay marriage amendment or ballot on the initiative was this, brilliant, genius move, it actually didn't help the turnout compared to the turnout for Kerry that year.
Well, then what's your interpretation then of the 2012 election, where there was reduced turnout for Romney, but also reduced turnout also for Barack Obama?
Yeah, well, if you look at the data, what you will see is that that back in March, when I first talked about this, and I tried to make sure that the Romney folks knew this was happening, but they were too busy doing whatever it is they were Project Orca. But when the primary happened here in March of 2012, contested primary, Newt Gingrich, Rick Santorum, and Mitt Romney. 4 years earlier, primary didn't matter at that point; it was over. McCain had won. In nearly half of the Ohio counties in 2012, Mitt Romney got fewer votes than Mike Huckabee did 4 years earlier in those counties. What that said to you was there was a base problem in Ohio for Mitt Romney, and that is why, when you got to the general election in November, Ohio is the only state where the McCain vote outstripped the Romney vote 4 years later, because the base did not show up for Mitt Romney.
Do you think that's one reason why Karl Rove, famously on election night, when confronted with the numbers, said, it can't be?
I think that's one of them, yeah. And I think that they still inherently believe that the auto bailout issue was going to work in their favor. And when you look at the numbers, that was a classic example of Republicans talking data versus heart versus mind messaging, where the President Obama was talking about how he saved a company, they got jobs back, and Joe down the street got his job back at Lordstown Plant, and then his friend who worked at the supplier to Lordstown, they got their job back, and then the diner and the coffee shop opened back up because they provided a loan to the auto industry.
Right.
Well, we're talking about they should have gone through the normal process of bankruptcy, it would have done this, should have, could have, would have, versus heart stories about real people, and that's why in exit polling, 60% of Ohioans thought the auto bailout was a good thing, and of those, 75% voted for Barack Obama.
This reminds me kind of like the flip side of the book and movie, What's the Matter with Kansas? Where the Democrats keep wondering about, the good citizens of Kansas should all vote Democrat because it should appeal to their pocketbook, but instead they vote values and by their heart, and so they vote Republican overwhelmingly.
Heart versus mind is a really important thing that the right has got to learn. That we've got to be less about the data, and that's that's what I've been involved in for years. But more about telling stories, because stories win. On the severance tax, if you go to the OpportunityOhio.org website, we have 3 videos, part 1, 2, and 3, all about the severance tax. There's very little data. We tell the story about the farmer, about the single mom coffee shop owner, and about the people that are going to be impacted by raising taxes on oil and energy suppliers and landowners, by the way, and what that's going to do to those communities when they can't move the oil and gas, but those energy companies can take the rig that's drilling it and move it right across the line of Pennsylvania, where they get a better tax rate if we raise taxes. So we tell the story of people, and that's very powerful to keep that severance tax where it is, instead of letting the governor win that issue.